This is Under Review, the show that talks about Colorado sports with a sprinkling of national sports headlines as well. I'm Jordan Long. We're going to start with the Junior College World Series, known as JUCO, is now over. This is for 2-year junior college baseball teams, and the only state that doesn't participate here in Grand Junction, Colorado is California. The reason why is they hold their own state tournament for junior colleges at the same time as the Junior College World Series. The winner this year was the Central Arizona College Vaqueros here in the Junior College World Series. Let's go back and review their amazing run. So how a school actually gets into the Junior College World Series here in Grand Junction, Colorado is they have to win one of 10 districts. Now, Central Arizona won the West District. This was their 8th appearance here in Grand Junction, Colorado. They have been national champions in 1976, 2002, and 2019. Of course, they joined 9 other schools. This included Walter State, Hartford, Cali, San Jacinto, Central Florida, Crowder, Snead State, Wabash Valley, and McLennan. So when all these teams arrived to Grand Junction, Colorado, they were seeded. Now, Central Arizona ended up as a 6th seed. Their first game of the tournament, which actually was game 5 against Crowder. So this was a back and forth game. It was a great game if you're looking at the 5th game of the tournament. It was 3-0 Crowder going into the 6th inning. Central Arizona tied the game up at 3 with 3 runs in the top half of the 6th inning. Crowder, though, would take the lead in the bottom half of the 6th inning with a run. So going into the 7th, it was 4-3 for Crowder. In the bottom half of the 8th inning with 2 outs, the rain and hail came. Of course, you can't play in that, so that ended up with a 2.5-hour rain delay. So when the game resumed, Central Arizona tied it up at 1 with a run in the top half of the 9th inning. Crowder went quietly in their half of the 9th inning. So we would head to extra innings. So tied at 4, of course, we headed to extra innings, like I just said. But Central Arizona didn't score on their half of the 10th inning. Crowder scored a run in the bottom half of the 10th inning and won the game 5-4. The loss meant that Central Arizona was in the losers bracket. Remember, this is a double elimination tournament. It's very difficult for a team to lose their first game and fight their way through the loser bracket to win the whole thing. It's not unheard of. It's just difficult to do. In game 11, they drummed San Jacinto 16-4 in 5 innings due to the run rule. Now, Central Arizona scored 6 runs in the first, 3 in the second, 2 in the third, and 5 in the 5th. Central Arizona had 16 runs on 17 hits. Now, Central Arizona limited San Jacinto's potent offense to 9 hits and 4 runs. Central Arizona's season was still alive. In Game 14, a rematch with Crowder. Central Arizona would come out on top in 7 innings by the final of 11-3. Now, if you look at their stats, they had 2 great hitters. Kiko Romero and Dusty Garcia had big days for Central Arizona in that game. Romero went 3 for 5 with 3 home runs and 4 RBIs. Garcia was 3 for 3 with 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. So that's already 8 RBIs by these 2 guys. So it's no question why they won the game. Central Arizona advanced to Game 16 against Wabash Valley. Now, both of these teams didn't want to go home. Central Arizona took a 2-0 lead in the first. It would stay that way until the 7th, when Wabash scored 3 runs to take a 3-2 lead. Well, Central Arizona tied the game up in their bottom half of the 7th inning. Central Arizona would regain the lead in the bottom half of the 8th inning, and it was 4-3 at that point. Of course, you knew Wabash was not going to go down quietly, and they responded to tie the game up. In the bottom half of the 9th inning, Dusty Garcia smacked the first pitch he saw over the wall, and that ended up with a 5-4 walk-off win for Central Arizona. Central Arizona knew they were going to play Walter State in Game 18. The winner was going to advance to Game 19, which was a championship game against Cali. Cali got a bye into the championship game since they played the most games in the tournament. Central Arizona held off Walter State 7-4. In the championship game against Cali, Cali took an early 1-0 lead in the top of the first. Central Arizona responded with 2 in the bottom half of the first inning. Heading into the second inning, it was 2-1 for Central Arizona. Cali tied the game up in the second in the top half of the inning, but in the bottom of the second inning, Central Arizona took a 3-2 lead, and they would never look back. They added another run in the third inning. It was 4-2 after 3 innings for Central Arizona. Now, neither team would score again, and the final was 4-2. Central Arizona won the Junior College World Series this year. If you look at both of their top players, Kiko Romero and Dusty Garcia had big tournaments for them. Romero led the whole tournament with home runs with 6. Garcia was second with 4 home runs. Now, Romero had the most RBIs at 11. Garcia was second with 10. Central Arizona as a team actually batted okay, .310 as a team for their batting average. That was 7th out of all the teams. Not bad, but not great. They smacked a total of 18 home runs. I'm going to repeat that. 18 home runs in the tournament. Oh, by the way, that was the best in the tournament. What really helped them win was their pitching. Central Arizona's pitching had a 4.07, led the tournament. They gave up 23 walks, so they had 23 free passes, but that didn't seem to hurt them. Pitching was great. How about their defense? Well, of course, you're going to make errors here. You're not going to go through a whole tournament without making an error. It's a matter of not letting them hurt you. Central Arizona, they actually only had 4 errors. So you're looking at it, Central Arizona in the tournament, 4 errors. That's why they won it. Their fielding percentage was .981. Number 1 in the tournament. You add this all up. They had hitting, they had pitching, and defense. Well, what more could you ask for? That's why they're number 1. For the Vaqueros, that Central Arizona Vaqueros, they can enjoy the win for a while. They will have to start their title defense sometime in January. Central Arizona would love nothing more than to defend their title in 2023. They won it in 2019, but technically didn't get a chance to make it 2 straight. Why, you ask? Well, great question. If you remember, in 2020, it was canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For them, though, they would love nothing more than to play their way back to Grand Junction, Colorado to defend their title. A team has not won back-to-back titles since Chipola College, which is out of Florida, did it in 2017 and 2018. It was one great tournament, and congratulations to Central Arizona as they are once again champions of the Junior College World Series. We're going to move on to the NBA, and it's Quin Snyder. Last week's show, I talked about Quin Snyder and why he should stay with the Utah Jazz. What a difference a week makes. Well, on Monday, Quin Snyder decided to resign as Utah Jazz head coach. This is what he said, quote, "At the core and what drives me every day is our players and their passion for the game, their desire to constantly work to improve, and their dedication to the team and the Jazz. I strongly feel they need a new voice to continue to evolve. That's it. No physiological differences, no other reason. After 8 years, I just feel it's time to move onward. I need to take time to detach after the season and make sure it was the right decision," end quote. Now, I was very surprised that Snyder decided to walk away from the Utah Jazz. His overall record was amazing, and it speaks for himself. The guy took over the Utah Jazz prior to the 2014-2015 season as head coach. He was 38-44 in that season, which was the worst as head coach of the Utah Jazz. The next year, they improved to 40-42. After that, Snyder never had a losing season, and the Jazz went to the postseason 6 straight years. That's what you want, is to be in the postseason. and he did it 6 straight times, including this year. The problem with Snyder is the Jazz didn't have the results in the playoffs. 3 times they were knocked out in the first round this year, 2020 and 2019. 3 other times they were beaten in the second round, 2021, 2018, and 2017. I understand he coached them to the playoffs, but you want to win in the postseason. Didn't happen with him. The thing is, though, I thought he would want to stay. Tried to make this team into a championship caliber team. Snyder was doing a great job. And the thing is, though, and I talked about this in last week's show, was the beef between Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, which is still going on. Neither one of them wants to play for the Jazz if either one is on the team. This situation really needs to be resolved, but Snyder saw the writing on the wall and decided, I'm better off leaving. For Snyder, though, he's most likely going to take the year off. So you're looking at the 2022-2023 season without Quin Snyder. The reason why I think that's going to happen is because Charlotte right now is the only team without a head coach. Not saying Charlotte isn't a good job, but it would be a little bit late for him to earn that job. Snyder is better off taking the year off and not coaching in the 2022-2023 season. He will have a chance to learn from his mistakes. Now, that being said, next season, Snyder will be in high demand for an NBA head coaching job. It's easy to see why. His overall record is 372 to 264, a winning percentage of .585, and he went to the playoffs 6 straight years. What more do you want? Just looking at that shows he can help turn a franchise around. For the Utah Jazz, they will start a coaching search. Now, possible candidates include Jazz assistant Alex Jensen, former Portland Trailblazers head coach Terry Stotts, which I think should be the favorite to get the job, New York Knicks assistant Johnny Bryant, Boston Celtics assistant Will Hardy, and Toronto Raptors assistant Adrian Griffin. If the Jazz want to stay with the same system, it's Jensen. Bryant, Hardy, and Griffin don't have head coaching experience. The guy, and I'm high on him, that I would go with is Terry Stotts. The Jazz are familiar with him since the team he coached, the Portland Trailblazers, are in the same division as the Utah Jazz. Look at Stotts' record. He would bring 13 years of NBA head coaching experience. He coached Atlanta, Milwaukee, and Portland. His overall record is an impressive 517 to 486. So that's 517 wins and 486 losses. A winning percentage of .515. Stotts coached his teams to the NBA postseason 9 times. Give this man a shot. How could it hurt? The Jazz will do what is best for them moving forward. Of course, the front office will decide that. And the Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell stuff has to be resolved. One of them is going to be traded, but of course, get a coach as well. Terry Stotts would be my answer, but they're going to do what is best for them moving forward. Now we're going to end the show with the Colorado Avalanche. The Colorado Avalanche have been on a mission this season. They are in the Stanley Cup final for the first time since 2001. Of course, 2001 was mission 16W to get Ray Borg's name on the Stanley Cup. Going into this year, they knew the past 3 years they were beaten in the second round of the NHL playoffs. They didn't want that to happen again. The team ended the regular season with 119 points, first in the Western Conference. They knew that in the playoffs, especially when it came to the West, it was going through them. In the first round, they swept the Nashville Predators. Now, one could argue that the reason the series was so lopsided was Nashville missed their top goaltender, Josi Saros. He was out with a lower body injury. Didn't matter. Colorado took care of business. Next up was the St. Louis Blues. It was a closer matchup. It took 6 games, and Darren Helm, thank goodness he scored this goal. He scored the Avs game winner in Game 6 with 5.6 seconds left in regulation. That lifted Colorado to a series win 4-2 over St. Louis. Finally, Colorado got out of the second round. The last 3 years, they've been oh so close of getting out, but they didn't. And finally, the monkey was off their back because they finally got out of the second round. Against Edmonton, going into the series, I was confident. The Avalanche had 4 lines that could score. I will give the Oilers credit. They do have one of the best scorers and fastest skaters in the league in Connor McDavid. Colorado, though, swept them. In Game 4, all that stood between the Colorado Avalanche and a return trip to the Cup final was overtime. Arturi Lehkonen scored 1 minute and 19 seconds into overtime that sent the Avs to the Cup final. Now, that was the first time since 2001. Now the Avalanche await their opponent. The thing is, though, rest is good for the Colorado Avalanche. People are wondering how big of a deal rust will be. And honestly, for this team, I don't think it's a big deal. Remember, this season and the fact that it was a little bit weird due to the COVID situation, the Avalanche and the whole NHL took a break from COVID. The Colorado Avalanche didn't play a game from December 18th until January 2nd. What did they do right after that? Well, I'm glad you asked. 5 straight wins. When Colorado swept Nashville, they had 8 days off until they played St. Louis. After the St. Louis series, Colorado had 3 days off. If you just look at the playoffs, that is a total of 11 days off. I am not worried about this team. Rest is going to be key for this team. For Colorado, it's rare for teams to have time off during the hockey season. It was a weird year with COVID this season, but still, it was a taste of what they could do with some rest. If you dive into the stats for this postseason, the Colorado Avalanche have been great in the playoffs. I knew they had 4 lines that could score, and they're showing that ability to score. In the postseason, Colorado has scored 4.64 goals per game. Like I said, 4 lines that can score. It's not all about the big line of Mikko Rantanen, Nathan MacKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog. Other players are actually stepping up. JT Compher. You're looking at also Devon Toews. Of course, one of the best scoring defensemen in Cale Makar. And of course, they had Nazem Kadri, who's hurt right now. But the fact of the matter is you just don't have Mikko Rantanen, Nathan MacKinnon, or Gabe Landeskog scoring the goals. You have depth in scoring. Now, their power play, though, needs a little bit of work, but they are working on it. I didn't realize how great they have been on the power play in this postseason because it felt like in some of these games, they should have, I'm going to take a football reference, they should have declined the penalties because they weren't setting it up. But if you look at it, they are scoring at 31.1% of their opportunities when they have the man advantage. On defense, of course, you're going to have breakdowns because no other team, there hasn't been really any shutouts for the NHL in these playoffs. Of course, the Avalanche did it against the Edmonton Oilers, but in general, there are no shutouts. So you're going to have breakdowns on defense. They are still limiting their opponents' chances to score. If you look at it, they give up 2.86 goals per game. Their power play kill needs a little bit of work. Teams are holding the puck actually in the Avalanche's defensive zone or the opponent's offensive zone, and they are scoring on it. The Avalanche kill off penalties at 75.5%. Now, the Avalanche are awaiting their opponent. As we stand today, it might be the Tampa Bay Lightning. The reason why I say that is because Tampa Bay leads that series in the Eastern Conference Finals 3-2. So who do the Avalanche really want to play? The truth is, I don't think it matters who they face. Colorado in these playoffs is an impressive 12 wins and 2 losses. They have yet to lose away from Ball Arena, and that is key. They are playing great hockey away from Ball Arena, especially on the road, which is on the road. So the possibilities of who they could play, like I just said, are Tampa Bay and New York. Tampa Bay, as we all know, have won the last two cups. Truly, 2020, I'm going to say sort of doesn't count. Sure, they won it, but it was in the bubble setting in Edmonton. There wasn't a crowd and no home ice advantage. It was a neutral site. Don't get me wrong, they deserved to win the cup in 2020. They were the last team standing when it was all said and done. Colorado faced Tampa Bay 2 times this season. Colorado won both matchups. The first one was on October 23rd in Tampa Bay. Colorado won 4-3 in a shootout. Of course, that was early in the season. Luckily, they played them in February, and the Avalanche won 3-2. So they can beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. I know the playoffs are a whole different animal, but if you look at that, they can win tight games against the Tampa Bay Lightning. For the Rangers, again, Colorado knocked them off twice this year. It was early in the season, which I thought was kind of odd. Anyway, December 8th in New York, Colorado won 7-3. On December 14th, Colorado skated away with a 4-2 victory over New York. Colorado has proven they can win against both. I know it's the regular season, but still, the Avalanche can sit and actually scout these games, and I'm sure they are. They will be ready to go whenever the Stanley Cup final starts. I don't think the rest is really going to hurt them. They have been great all season, and they are 4 wins away from hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup. Now, no matter when the series starts, it will be in Colorado because they have the home ice advantage. They were second in the NHL in points. Only the Florida Panthers had more, and of course, they lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Advantage Colorado already, since home ice has meant so much for them, not only in the regular season, but the postseason as well. I really don't think it matters because Colorado is going to be the rested team. I understand that, if you look at baseball, you don't want the rest. I'm comparing sports. Baseball, you don't want the rest because for whatever reason, when you have rest, and I've seen it with the Colorado Rockies back in 2007, they had too much rest, and that actually cost them a World Series. Why you don't want the rest in baseball is because you're playing every day for 162 games a year. If you look at it, yeah, you might have a day off here and there, and you'll have the All-Star break, but you're not taking a week off. That really hurts your skills. For hockey and most other sports, you want that rest to heal up. Let the other teams beat each other up, and then maybe you're the fresher team. And I think that's what's going to happen with the Colorado Avalanche. I understand that you're worried about rust and all this, but the Avalanche have a pretty darn good coach and Jared Bednar who will not let rust actually affect them. Like I said, in the St. Louis series, they had almost a week off before they actually started that series, like I said. And then in Nashville, they had a few days off when they played the Edmonton Oilers. So fresh off a sweep with Nashville, there were 8 days off, and they won that game. Won that series. St. Louis, when they beat the Blues, 3 games off before facing the Edmonton Oilers. Rest is going to be key. So if you're worried about this team, they have great leadership with Nathan McKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog, and Mikko Rantanen, and they're going to hold these guys accountable. This has been Under Review. I'm Jordan Long. Read my blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com. Please check all the shows we have on the Sideline Sports Network and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You don't want to miss any of them. We have shows every single day, and they're very informative. This has been a Sideline Sports production.